Long ago, this land comprised the northern kingdoms of Lordaeron, ruled by King Tyrannus Menethil. Tyrannus had a son named Arthas. Arthas. Even saying his name makes my body quiver in rage. This man-child, Arthas, took for himself a cursed blade known as Frostmourne. Through Frostmourne, Arthas killed his own father and raised this land along with every living creature in it. My own death came at the hands of Arthas when he and his armies sacked my homeland, Quel'Thalas, and murdered my people. In his vast cruelty, Arthas severed my spirit from my body and raised me as a banshee to serve in his Scourge army. A similar fate befell all that would die to the Scourge war machine. In death, they were reborn as mindless undead, but Arthas was not invincible. With each passing day, his power waned, his grip over the will of the damned loosening. It was when Arthas was at his weakest that I struck. And though the hour of his atonement had come, the worm managed to escape his fate, returning to the frozen wastes of Northrend. With Arthas gone, so too was the control he held over the undead masses of Lordaeron. After recovering my body, I freed the remaining Scourge that were left behind. From the cruelty and mercilessness of Arthas, the man who would be Lich King, the Forsaken, were born. Our goal, our sole purpose, was to destroy the Lich King. We threw our lot in with the Horde and began our journey towards redemption. Now, the Lich King is dead, and we have returned. The people who called this land their home in life do so in death as well. But the Alliance does not recognize our rights. They claim this land as their own, while attempting to invalidate the claims of the founders of this kingdom. I will never allow it. Never! Lordaeron belongs to the Forsaken. Always and forever.
So basically, Sylvanas just gave you Warcraft 3 in a nutshell. That was the abridged version of Warcraft 3. Quick and dirty. So yeah, I just want to go ahead and double check that my mic's working, and I'll be right back. So everything's good.
I have no time.
And you just got the abridged version of Warcraft 3. And a little bit of WoW narrative in there too, because the Lich King being dead has impact. You can find 2 stamina. Why do we need?
For the Horde.
Oh, I guess we got a barrel. Cool. So we got to kill some Worgen. So we're gonna do a couple things. The first thing is we're gonna mark our Hearthstone, which is something you should get in the habit of doing. You always want to sort of mark your Hearthstone where you are. We don't need to talk to the Bat Handler because it's already marked. So Sylvanas has given us a quest. High Warlord Chrome Crush has a quest for us, but we do not meet the level requirement for that quest just yet. And there's a hunter trainer over there, which is really peculiar.
I haven't got all day.
I wonder if that means they've sort of... Don't forget to equip that dude. There we go. And since weapon skills are no longer relevant,
Our time will come.
don't have to worry about that. Clothier.
What now? Our time will come.
Just looking to see if there's a warrior trainer here. It's possible that they put all of the Oh, there's the priest trainer. I think we could probably do some... Tell me there's not a druid trainer over here. Well, there's a warrior trainer.
What is it?
There's a Murrow rune totem. I don't know what she's doing here. Ah, gravy.
Frost.
Oh, they decided to let me put heroic strike on my bar for myself. That's nice. So I'm gonna put it here. And yeah, 4's fine. I was considering remapping that key. You know, just for convenience. I like to have heroic strike as actually bound to that F key, but I don't.
Speak quickly.
I don't think I need to do that. Not considering how close we are to level 20. It's just a personal preference. You don't. By no means do you have to do that. So we're just gonna create some bandages. Even though we don't really need them, it's good to keep our first aid up. I think I'll probably go to like 50. Just be mindful of once a skill greens out like that, you won't gain skill off it anymore. Just be mindful of keeping your first aid up. It's a part of playing a warrior. I don't know how relevant it is anymore, but in the past it's been incredibly relevant. So it's something I do out of habit. And I would encourage you to do unless you have playing a class that has the ability to heal itself with spells. So druids, paladins, priests, and shaman. I would never level first aid on. And some people might feel that's a mistake, especially people who like to PvP a lot. Gotta sneeze. But I'm not one of those people. And I don't know how relevant bandages are in PvP. I get the sense that they would be relevant in the arena, but man, I haven't done arena since the Burning Crusade, so in truth, I really have no idea. Sort of feels like old weapon skills here. Yeah, so you can see, I'll try to give an example of how Heroic Strike is off the global cooldown. Oh, it's, never mind. Kind of a tard. Kind of a jerk, but it's okay. 2. So you can see whenever I hit 4, if you watch, whenever I hit 4, it doesn't trigger the clock on all these abilities, and the global cooldown is like, I think it's like 1.4 seconds or something like that. I'm not 100% sure how long it is exactly, but having Heroic Strike be off the global cooldown is important because it means you can use it and it won't take up a keystroke, so you can go, you know, we can get a whole bunch of rays. Let me get to that. And go like Bloodthirst Heroic and do 2 attacks right in a row, and that will become clear later. Probably not within the scope of this Let's Play unless I continue playing. But when you're playing yourself, that'll become very clear as to why that particularly has strength. Especially you'll just start to understand, and if you don't, then I would encourage you to do some reading about it and try and find out why. I'm not 100% sure that I can do justice to explaining why Heroic Strike being off the global cooldown is really important. You can just trust me that it is. The biggest reason is because it doesn't take up a slot, so it allows you to actually have more attacks. As you notice now, we're finding that I don't actually have that much excess rage to spend, whereas before we were sort of locked, like we were sitting there waiting for Bloodthirst to cool down, and we sort of sat there with a full rage bar. That has changed because Heroic Strike, not only does it cost 30 rage, which is relevant. Here's some Alliance guy who's flagged himself, who probably is running around with Eyes of the Beast, trying to convince lower level people to attack him. I don't fall for that shit. He's just looking for somebody to kill. he doesn't have anything better to do, or he's exploring. I mean, that could be possible. I don't mean to, like, you know, crap on a guy if he's just exploring the map. Doesn't really make sense that he would be flagged for PvP on a PvE server though. Which is sort of like if you type /PvP, or if you go enable PvP in this setting right here, it allows, it's sort of called being flagged. It allows you to be attacked by opposing players of the opposing faction, so it allows Horde to attack Alliance and vice versa. Definitely not something you want to go ahead and do if you're a new player, because you'll just get killed. I mean, you could do it if you want to. You know, you can always test. Some people discover PvP in their own way. I would recommend using a battleground, but you know, some people like to do it the other ways. A lot of players really like PvP. I feel like it's just way too much like playing an FPS game. And I'm not really that big of a fan of FPS games. If you guys are watching my rage bar, you should start to really see Heroic Strike's effect on our rage bar. And while it doesn't necessarily feel like it, our damage output has gone up. So we looted a pattern, which is pretty much useless, but it is something I can talk about. Monsters will often drop like trade skill patterns, and these are things you can learn if you have the requisite trade skills. And they're not irrelevant. Some of them aren't worth anything, some of them are. Sometimes you can loot one that's really valuable. It pays to just go to the auction house and take a look at what each enchantment is sort of selling for, because otherwise it's just a 75 copper item that's mundane, and you know, that you're not particularly interested in. But I mean, it pays. Sometimes you can accidentally, you know, or sometimes you can get lucky and loot a really expensive pattern. I don't know what would be a good example of that. Maybe the Crusader buff. You know, anybody who sort of does twinking, which is PvPing on a lower level character with higher level items, would be able to answer that question better than me. But like I said, look at how much health we have, 429. We've literally gone up like 150 hit points. But yeah, just check the auction house if you get a pattern drop. Sometimes you can make quite a bit of gold, and while it may not seem like it right now because I essentially just haven't gone to the auction house, gold is worth it. Having lots of gold is a good thing, especially like when you want your mounts. And I might be getting a little too overzealous with Heroic Strike. It doesn't do as much damage as Bloodthirst, but because it's surplus, I can really chain it off. But later on in the game, when you're wanting your mounts, and when you can actually pay for equipment from blacksmiths that become relevant, especially for the warrior, for those people out there who really want a tank, I believe there is relevant tanking gear from blacksmiths. I'm not 100% sure. When I was playing Diplomatico, who was my goblin, there was some pretty relevant gear from blacksmiths. That may have changed. You may now be able to you know, get tiered rating gear from heroics. That may have just sounded like a whole bunch of gibberish. It's